Hello everyone, welcome, very welcome to this course. This is Rodolfo speaking and I will be your instructor. So I'd like to give you the most of the welcomes to you all. Welcome to this course, this AZ 104 from Microsoft Azure, and I'm just hoping you get to have the best of it. Good morning, Alexander, and very welcome. So welcome once again to the course AZ 104. First of all, let me introduce myself, everybody. Just let me grab my little color pen here and change the color because sometimes it gets some color I don't like. Well, I am Jose Rodolfo Moreno. You can call me Rodolfo. I will be your instructor. I am from Mexico. If you've ever been here, it's very nice, right? My nickname, many people call me Fofo, referring to the 404, because when I was in tech school, it was really hard to find me. Sometimes people couldn't find me, right? So I'm an MCT, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I will be guiding you through this course and helping you with everything I can, my experience. Some of my background, well, I studied aviation when I was younger, many years ago, and technology, networking, nowadays cloud computing, something I really love. Some of my hobbies, play video games, like every tech guy. I love to develop tech solutions. I have this amazing, I won't call it skill because that's too much, right? But I just love find out a problem and fix it with a tech solution. It's something that I really love. As well, I like to DJ, play the guitar, and sing. I sing in English because people don't understand when I make mistakes, but I believe that some people understand it. Well, that's me. When I was a pilot many years ago, that's Learjet 45. But it was like many years ago. I'm not that guy anymore. This is also me. This is here in Mexico. This one is the Great Millimeter Telescope, also known as the GMT here in Mexico. This has the length of a half football field. That's very length, and it was what we call the ear of the planet for many years. And I worked there developing some stuff with the INAOE, which is an institute here in Mexico that works with the astrophysics, optics, and electronics, as well. And one of my proudest is been working here, which is in the top of the volcano. I was really young, you see. I was working in the top of the volcano, and this telescope, this small here, was a prototype back then, and it was called the Omega 9. Coming from the Omega 3, long story. But one of the beautiful things of this is some of the studies that we made developing the algorithms on the mirrors to find out the black spaces into the stars. And nowadays, the same algorithm, it was developed there. It's on the Webb, in the James Webb Telescope, that it's in the other side of the planet. So you can imagine. Hello, Mahendram, very welcome. And yeah, that's me. Let me just take my message away. That it's me, and well, I'd like to give you the most of the welcomes. That it's also me. You can see me in the camera. Welcome to this course, and I hope that you really enjoy it. So, what are the rules of the class? It's important that we set up some rules because sometimes we get to be 1,000 attendees, and it's important to waiting for the presenter's screen. Yeah, I'm sharing the screen, so it's okay. You can also refresh your browser. So Some of the rules of the class are important. Keep attention of all times. You know, when I was young, I learned that the best way to learn, and you don't have even to study, is just to pay attention to the information they're trying to give to you. Keep your mic on mute while you're not here on the usually what I do. So I would just tell you that I have a lot of fun when you learn, a lot of fun. Yeah, Fofo, that's my nickname. In case of disconnection, stay tuned and wait for further instructions. What I'm telling you these guys, because I could be flying planes or I could be working, I don't know, maybe with NASA, but I can do not anything about electric outage or an outage from my ISP provider. So even that I have prepared for many things, things happens, you know. So, and don't be shy. Feel free to interact and participate. You have the chat right there, and I'm constantly looking. Sometimes I'm just looking away. I have a couple of cameras, so I don't even know which camera I am. So, so I hope that you enjoy the course, and you're very welcome. Perfect. So about this course, it's a 104. You should have some prerequisites, some stuff that you already know about Azure. So to successfully complete this certification, you should understand the on-premises virtualization technologies, including the virtual machines, the virtual networking, and the virtual hard disk. And it says understanding. It doesn't say that you should learn it like etymology on it, you know, like one thing that I really love about Microsoft and Azure, it's the path, you know, so everything it's made so you can learn step by step. So you don't have to learn like deeply into the stuff right now because you're learning, you know, it's a path. And what I love the most about Microsoft is the path is it's goes beyond learning, you know, it's more like about they want to make sure that you understand. So that's the beauty of Microsoft. And also I like the infrastructure and many other things. You should understand network configuration, including TCP, domain name systems, also known as DNS, virtual private networks, also known as VPNs, the firewalls and encryption technologies, pretty much having like a basic knowledge on networking. Understanding of Active Directory, you know, the concepts, you know, the Active Directory, the ones that you create when you buy some license or you install some license on your organization, users, groups, role-based access control, but we're gonna get into it. Understanding of resiliency, disaster recovery, including the backup and restore operations. Okay, so just give me one. About this course outline, about what we are going to review during this this course, we're going to be talking about administer identity. We're going to be talking administer governance and compliance as well, and administer some resources. I believe some of these we're going to get covered today. Also, we're going to be talking some modules about the virtual networking. You know the basics about networking. Now let's go step deep. You know, like not deeply, just step by step, just one step deeply. Also, the inter-site connectivity and the network traffic management, which is some of my favorite, by the way. The Azure storage, you know, learn how to administer Azure storage. The virtual machines, the past compute options, you know, the platform as a service options, the data protection, which is also important. And I like to make a parenthesis here about the beautiful work that Microsoft is doing about data protection and security, you know, with Microsoft Entra, which is, well, you will hear about it. And the monitoring, you know, learn how to administer the monitoring tools that we have right there in Azure. But before we really go in there, I like to get to know you, everybody. So I prepare, if you don't mind, like a small interactive activity for you. So you can just go on your phone camera and scan the QR code that you can see on your phone. And I will just lead you to answer a few questions, a couple of questions. Actually, it's just one question, but I make it like twice so you can decide which one to answer. And because I want to know like your background or what it's most of it, your goals in Azure, you know. I like to see what do you like to, what are your goals, and what is it, the main reason that you decide to come here and take this beautiful path. Let me see if I can just go in there. Thank you so much. There are some people answering. But I cannot see where are they? Let me see if I got the correct one. Wow, there's a lot of people answering. I'm still looking why I cannot. Can we have a QR code page? Yes, you can. I will just send it to the link. And the most important thing, you know, let's relax. We're going to be here a couple of days. And I want you to feel comfortable, you know, comfy. It's one of the important things for me. Let me see where I just put it, this one. Okay. I think I just... It's loading. Just give me a couple seconds, please. Why? No loading wheel. Well, we see a lot of result here. It's too many. Let's see how it goes. There's a lot of people who haven't finished. Thank you, Kunal. As I said, I am from Mexico, and I am sorry if I just mispronounce any name. I will just try to make my best effort. So, sincerely, I won't mind to respect anybody if I pronounce it in a not correct way. It's still loading. Now I'm going to share it. So I'm going to share it in just a minute. Thank you to all the people. Yes, Anik, the sessions are recorded. They will be available for you in 5 to 10 days, 5 to 10 working days, I believe. They have to go through human verification. So after human verification, they're going to be available for you. It always happens the same thing to me, you know. I managed to find this this website where I do this one, and sometimes it just works seamlessly, and sometimes it just, you know, I cannot see it. Okay, but I will see it because it's taking time to loading. I will work on that on the next break, promise, and I will learn a lot about you. The recordings will be sent to you through your email, I believe. Some of the information about this course is sent to you through the email. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the ASET 104, the Azure Administrator. You know what? I really want to share with you. I really want to see some of the results, but there's too many results, and I don't believe it can fit the screen. That's the thing here. When I decide something, I just go like, I have to do, you know. I'll make a presentations here. Open, which is this one, and it should be starting presentation might interrupt and affect voting results. Oh, okay, because it was created. Are the people still voting? That's the thing. You know, I have to. It have to pass a couple of seconds with nobody voting. That's new. Didn't know that. But that's very nice. Very nice to know that. And let me see if I can just. Wow, that is a lot, you know. I will see if I can just, because that eats a lot of people. Let me see. I will just go bigger, as bigger as I can. Well, I cannot learn all of them. Well, some of the people I would just approach the screen. They go because they want to do the certification, because be more competitive for the future, prepare for the test, for an ASET 104 certificate, design. It's a passion. That it's nice. We share something. For knowledge, understanding groups, to learn further about, to improve knowledge, the exam, to be a cloud developer, awesome path that you have choose to study. Wow. And the people still answering for professional progress. That's nice. That's a lot of things, you know, like for all of those reasons, right? For all of the reasons, we are taking this wonderful course here. You know, actually, it makes me feel really good because it reminds me when I just started into technology. It wasn't a long time ago, you know, like when I was a pilot, I wasn't really good at computers. So it starts in a place. So those ones reminds me when I was learning and beginning to learn. So thank you so much, everybody, for sharing that. It really touched me. It's a company required. You know, in my case, it was also for company required, but I will never regret that. So it was something that it just jumps me, like from there I just jumped to the cloud, and I never stopped, you know. I haven't stopped since then, for a better job. That's very enough progression, understanding, learn more about Azure, develop. Well, so welcome everybody. So I see that you have quite a background into technology. being here, which is really, really nice. And I really, really congratulate you for that. So let's, I was saying, welcome to the course, to this beautiful, beautiful course, the ACET 104. And I will just deploy a tool that I need, and I used really, really often. I don't know where I put it. Should be somewhere around. Okay, let's go. Where you get? Somewhere it gets, I don't know. It gets somewhere. And we have to reinstall it again then. So welcome to the 104. And why I'll install the tool that I don't have. Don't know why, because I have it. Now there is. So let's begin with, I did something. I just start with the users and groups before I start with the Active Directory. I just make a few there. Why? Because I understand a lot of you want to learn from administration, and administration is so important. And there's so many concepts, so many fundamentals that we have to learn deeply and in order to understand. And I believe before we go straight to how we administer, the groups of users or groups accounts or everything inside of a directory, we should understand better the users, right? And how the groups are made. So that's what I like to start with, the users and groups accounts. In this module, in this unit, if you want to call it that way, we're going to be talking about creating user accounts, about how to manage those user accounts, create bulk accounts as well, which is a way to bulk like a database of users instead of sending one by one the invitation, which we just can bulk a setup of users that we want in our subscriptions. As well, creating the group accounts, how to assign license to users and groups. Well, this is an extra topic that we'll try to explain. How to create the administrative units and some demonstrations that we're going to do. Of course, we're going to do the hands-on lab. We're going to be working on the labs. So that will be really, really cool. And the submarine resources, I like to do wrap-ups, according to the way we are working in the units. I like to do some wrap-ups at the end of some modules or at the end of some units, because I consider that it's important to remember. Of course, during the whole days, I will be just mention it and do like a quick wrap up all from all the classes before. All right. So if you have any doubt of any kind or you need anything, please don't be shy. Share us there, right there in the chat. We are here to help you. We are here to guide you and do the best of this course. So first of all, we create users, okay? We have to understand that all users, all of them, they need to have an account, okay? They cannot be just there because they have to have an account, right? In this case, if you don't give an account to them, well, the portal will generate one in automatic, okay? This account, what is necessary because it's used for authentication and authorizations, okay? And each user, remember we are creating the user account, each user has additional properties, okay? Yes, team, we're gonna have a couple of breaks there, pretty much after a couple of units, but between you and I, every time my coffee runs out, we have like a couple of minutes to do the refill, coffee break, water break, tea break, toilet break. Excuse me, and thank you so much. I'm a coffee lover. That's what I can say. And what else do we need to know about users? How deep do we need to know about users? Remember that the certifications are made, where's my pen? The certifications are made step by step, like, so each time we go further, each time we go deeply into the understanding. So I know that you need to understand more and more and more, but let's concentrate in what is important. And what is important is to have the enough understanding and the enough knowledge for you to approve the ACET 104 certification exam. Okay, so it's my job to lead you there. It's my job to guide you there. All right. So to be honest, I don't want to go deeply into stuff that might confuse you in a way, and that are not really necessary to approve that exam, because there's some percentage that they apply to certain units, certain knowledge. So you understood? So that's why. But anyway, if you have like a deeply doubt on something, just please share it right there in the chat. That will be just answer as quick as possible. So we create the user accounts. No worries, we're going to be navigating in the portal. In a minute, I will just show you my portal. I just love my portal, if I can find it. Oh, here it is. This is my portal. I like to work on the black, maybe for my eyes. I work a lot of at night. I work on Zulu time for the people that, Zulu time is like the universal time. So right now it's 9:28 of November the 14th. So for some of the people, the day is starting and it's already 9:28, so there's some people already ahead of us. So let's take that advantage and let's work. So that's the portal. The portal. You've been here before. You can choose your colors. I love to play with my colors because sometimes white's too much. Okay. And well, to create the users, you know what? I'm using actually an Azure Pass. I'm not in the lab, so I won't be able to create users here. So I will just open the lab later. No, here. I could create a user with this. No, I can't. Well, I will open a lab in a minute and show you. So we create the user. So that's why we need users, because we need to determine who's a person, right? That is actually going to be using the tools, the benefits, the resources, the functions, whatever you call it. So who is going to be that person? That person needs to have an authentication and authorization. Okay, so we need to create that identity. That's why it's very important to understand that, right? The who is who, the identity of that person, right? So when we create the user, we can get to manage the user account, okay? So how to, not once we create the users, we create the user, all right? So to manage the user accounts, which is the part I couldn't show you in the portal, which I will in a couple of minutes, we can select new user, new guest user. We can create a bulk of user, okay? We can invite a bulk, like a lot of people. change the background theme to white. Yes, it's possible, and I show you. We can also do bulk deletes and download users if we have some. You know, we're gonna have a 2-hour Q&A session because I just love to solve all those questions, like how to change the background, how do you do this, how do you collapse the menu, how do you open that burger, how do you move that menu to be on the screen, or how do you have those layers in front. Well, we can do that, you know. We have time, we have plenty of time, and I would like to do the best for you guys. Also, during the manage of the user account, we can check on the multi-factor authentication, which you already know, right? So, must be global administrator or user administrator to manage users. So you need to have that level. You need to have that privilege to create, not to create, to manage the user. Remember that only the tenant or only the owner of the membership can create global administrators or user administrators or so on, you know. So as well, when you choose to create, you have to choose which kind of invitation you wanna have. You want to create a user, they will be given a proper Microsoft omnicroft.com account from Azure. You want to invite a user, well, they can be collaborating with you with their own email, you know, from Outlook, Hotmail, and the other ones that you already know. I don't like to pronounce the other branch, you know, because I'm so in love with Microsoft. You will see why, and I hope that I can just transfer you that feeling, you know. When we perform the bulk creations, all about this bulk, we set up like several emails of several accounts in just an easy way. How we do that? Well, if we have like a CSV or you know, like an Excel, we can just create that bulk operation and create all those users from a simple operation of uploading a CSV, you know, an Excel file, and that will be it. So automatically it will be sent the invitations to those users. We have to remember that you should be signed up as the global administrator for that, and it has to be set up like some of the names that you use, like for I cannot, A Brenner, AED Premium, or you can call it Batman or Robin or whatever, it's up to you. We have to set up some names on it into the Excel, you know, into that directory. So that's about performing the bulk updates. I think I have somewhere, if you let me open maybe just a lab for you, I will just launch it. In the meantime, it's just get there. So while it's launched. So let's go with the next one. We create group accounts. Why we need group accounts? Why it's so important? Well, it's a better and dynamic way to organize everything, right? It's like having departments, and not only departments, but we can have some crews as well, right? Or a setup of extra employees in the organizations. So we can create groups accounts that help us a lot. It helps us to manage apps and the resources, you know, into the directory as well. Having this account, it will make you understand, like, if you are in an organization, I'm trying to see, look for you some easy examples, which there's by the way, parentheses, just a cultural story. I read somewhere, you might remember, if this is a quote, and it says, if you cannot explain something in simple terms, you haven't understand it. So I'm always looking for daily basic examples and really sometimes awkward way to put things, and people seem to have fun and understand. We can do examples with pretty much everything. It's just the way we understand them, right? So we create accounts, we create group accounts to have them all assigned into one group type. For example, these ones are assigned to security, okay? So I create my group with a scope of security because I want them to be with certain privilege, with certain levels of authority and so on. So I create a group that help me to manage that. And we can create groups for security groups, the Microsoft 365 groups, and so on. The best thing about it is the types of assignments that we can do to the groups, because we can assign them directly, or we can find in a dynamic way the users we want to add to those groups, or we can do the same thing, but instead of the user, we use the device, So we can create all those things. And we don't have to manage too much for the ones that have experience working on the command line, working in front of a server, and they know all the syntaxes they have to write to add any user, to delete any user, revoke some permissions and stuff. So Azure has made use of life even easier with all these wonderful benefits and resources that we can have. As well, the license, okay? The license is an important thing to understand how to assign the license to the users and groups. I will see if I just launch here yes, I launch it. Okay, I would just show the portal right now, and we'll be talking about it. You can see here, it's the instructions, the portal. I would just take this into another window so I can just show you the screen, right? So let's go to the portal here, because this is going to be the way that you will be doing that into your practices. And we type portal.azure.com. We have to sign in with the given username, with the given password. I never saved it. I have like that thing about saving things. I like to have them on paper. I trust the ink more than a brilliant memory. So maybe later. So I was talking about the users before I go too further and show you how to create and about the bulk operations. Yes, what happened? Okay. So for example, we have a couple of users already here in our portal. Let me see if we got Control-2. And as you can see, and I will just go, I think, Shift. Okay. As you can see here, we have new user, right? And we have bulk operations. You see? Let me take it out. So what happened when I just hit new user? I will create like an Omnicraft Microsoft account. Well, if I create it, yes. If I invite it, No. So I can give it an identity, which it will be its name, right? Maybe I can use something like this, and any will be all 6.4. So I'm working at here. Or whatever you choose to add. I cannot add new users because the typo's up. And just send a personal message if you want. Maybe a lorem ipsum, like whatever is your idea. Lorem ipsum, it's kind of saying whatever in Latin. I'm so sorry. I'm just getting out of a flu. Okay, and you invite that person. So that's how easy you can create a new user. But someone is asking about the bulk operation. So what happened when I do a bulk operation? I can bulk invite. And what I do here, okay, I can download the template that I should filling up with all the information, with all the data and emails and the names of the people that I want to bulk into the creation of users, okay? Once I just finished filling up that template, right, I will just upload it here. And of course, I submit. And what happened? Once I submit all of them, they could appear just like this. It's the purpose of the bulk operation is you don't have to invite one by one, that you can do it like in a bulk operation, like in a group operation. You can even create 200, 300 users. That simple. And I hope that answers your questions. So yeah, that's basically the invite users and create operations. As well, I was talking about the licenses. Yeah. So we have to understand something. We have to understand that Microsoft Azure, okay, it's a cloud service, right? It's built, and it has built-in many services, and some of them, majority of them, are services for free. For example, the Azure Active Directory, it comes free. There's also one thing that I like to tell you about this. Some people get to confuse the Active Directory with the AAD, which is the Azure Active Directory. They work the same way, not the same thing, right? So always remember that. When you have your directory, you can have your directory in a license for the Microsoft 365, and that directory is your Active Directory. The people who is authorized to use that license. Okay, you can bring that directory to Azure. Yes, you can, but you have to understand that Azure Active Directory, it's another thing. They work seamlessly. Seems to be the same, but they're not the same. All right. So when you work with license, we have to understand. So in an easy way, you have the standard version, or the basic version of it, which is you have all the tools, but you cannot use all the properties of the tools. When you have more like a standard version or a premium version, no, more like a standard, those properties of the tool, like how much you can manage of it, right? You can use them more. I'm not saying Azure work this way. I'm just trying to make you understand the way license work, basics, standards, premium 1, premium 2, and so on. So as better license you have, of course, more benefits you are going to have on your developing, on using Azure. So there are some other services that are paid cloud services, you know, like Office 365, where you have to pay for cloud services and require license. The licenses are assigned to those who need access to the services. Okay, that's why we have to make that part important. So each user or group requires a separate paid license. Okay, so far so good. Wonderful. The administrators use the management portals and PowerShell CMLets to manage license. So what it means, I create my membership. I am the owner of that subscription. Okay, I am the one who is going to be paying for all the licenses, for all the sub-subscriptions, for calling it that way, that are created under my name or under my organization's name, right? So we assign license to the users, or we assign license to a group, and the group has, you know, a couple of users as well. As well, we are creating administrative units. Okay, the administrative unit, it's useful because it helps us to restrict administrative scope, like, you know, a scope where, like a telescope, you know, you're looking at it. So when you have a scope on it, it's like you are targeting, or you're heading everything looking that way, you know, like it's looking for it. So it helps you to restrict some of the scope in your administration. And how it does that? Well, by using the administration units in your organization, okay, that are made of dependent divisions of any kind, the kind that you choose. Consider, for example, like a large university, that it's made of many autonomous schools, right? School of Business, School of Finance, School of Arts, School of, you know, and each school has a team of IT admins who control access, manage users, and set policies for their school, you know, like set up the rules. And then you have a central administrator, like the principal. Okay, so who's the principal? That will be the cloud owner, you know. So that's why we have to populate the directory. We have to create, and we can create administrative units, because some of the units, well, are different, are into the same campus, for saying somehow, like the bunch of schools, but they have like different scopes, right? Sorry. So they have like different scopes. So with these, we can create an appropriate role, okay, that are exclusively scoped to the administrative unit. In this case, the School of Business or the School of Art. It's different, right? And we can add IT members to the role, of course, right? So we create those administrative units, right? So that's what I wanted to tell you about the users and groups. You know, users, the owner, subscriptions, the license, just a little bit here. And now let's go with, it's the Active Directory, you know, like what's going to happen with all those users that are signing to my account, which I am about to give them some licenses, and those licenses are going to cost me, right? So we have the Azure Active Directory, which is going to be, you know, like the yellow pages, the white pages, how do you call it? The phone book, where you have a lot of information. Yeah, it's the same. And all that information would help us to have a better organization. So during this unit, the Azure directory, we're going to be describing and discussing pretty much about the benefits and features, some of the concepts of AD, and well, some of the concepts is that you understand the difference between the ADDS to the Azure Active Directory. Of course, some of the AD editions, it's like the standard, the premium, the basics, the identities, which is important. This is the part, it gets me confused a lot when I was starting, and it was about who is the boss, who has the most privilege, who is under who who orders who, and so on. And it was part of the thing. It just rings me a lot, So the owner, it's the one who's paying for. And from the owner, we have different, like global administrator, users administrator or management. And then you create more. You can create different identities, but basically, or the basic ones, they have some hierarchy on it. So, for example, the owner is the one who can create global administrator. The global administrator can create other users. But, of course, the global administrator cannot erase the owner. But the owner can erase or delete the global administrator or make some changes, and so on. There's some privileges and some hierarchies in that. And the self-service of password reset, like, oh, I forgot my password, and well, the password can be reset, and we can set up some policies or set up some rules to the password to be resetted. So, describing Azure Active Directory benefits and features, people, by the way, you might see me or hear me repeating so many times, like the same word, like so, or okay, or maybe. Anytime, if you see any word that I'm repeating quite often, please just let me know. I will try to improve my English and my language a little bit better. So the difference between the Azure and well, not the difference. The Azure Active Directory, okay, it's cloud-based, all right? It's not going to be on my server. It's not going to be on my computer, all right? It's not going to be on Excel into the human resources. It's going to be, okay, on the cloud, all right? So it will give me the capabilities to enable security, the secure manage the access to the services and resources for the users. So that is why, because I need to enter, I'm just going to draw here, because I need to enter the cloud. This is my Azure cloud, for example, okay? I need to enter my cloud, okay? But in order to enter my cloud, my Active Directory should be here, because I need to compare that user is actually in there, right? So that's why it's that is why it is cloud-based. So it's not a cloud version of Windows Service Active Directory. It's different. It's not intended as a replacement for it, because the server Active Directory, it's more for being on premises. That's a big difference, right? So one should be on premises, the other should be in the cloud. Why? Because if I want to access the cloud, the information should be there, right? If they want to access my on premises, well, that Active Directory should be on my on premises. It's not like the people accessing to my server, they're gonna verify their authenticity and identification into other server. That's not logical, right? That is why it's more for logic than anything. It will provide application and authentication for the users, for the devices, and the hybrid identity, should be user and device. So it will help you with all of those things. So what's going to happen? I have my Windows Server Active Directory. So that's what I say. Don't get confused with it. And my Active Directory. Of course, the users and groups, okay, they're sharing that information. They could be existing in both ways. One of them exists in the Windows Server Active Directory. The other one exists on the Azure Active Directory, which this one it's on the cloud, like I said, and this one it's on my on-premises. So once the users want to access, for example, my on-premises, they access with the same password, with the same user, but they go through a Kerberos authentication. Kerberos authentication, it's, how can I explain it for you? Like every time you do a transaction in the bank, every time you do a transaction, like a bank transaction, and you want that transaction it's being secure, all right? So that security, it's kind of a protocol that works the same as Kerberos. It's been working for a long time, and it's very safe. I guess that's why it's still working with Windows Server Active Directory. And in the case of the users want to access, for example, the cloud or the applications on the cloud, they will be authorized by some of these different protocols as well. But in the main are the users and the groups. They are in the center because they're sharing the same, I'm going to erase it again, they're sharing the same identity. They are the same ones. They don't need to have two different identities to access either their own premises or to access into the cloud. We get to do that, But always remember, Windows Server Active Directory, right? Or Active Directory domain server, it's not the same that the Azure Active Directory, also known as the AAD. Okay? So, some of the concepts that are important to know, and this is important because this is, well, I won't say this is an exam questions, but those are the kind of information they require during the test. If you go to the knowledge summary, you will see like how much percentage they require for each of them. So I consider this important to understand what is an identity. Okay, identity is someone, and that someone object can be authenticated. All right. So how do you authenticate when you go to the bank? You authenticate with your credit card, to the ATM. Okay, and how do you show authorization? Well, with your NIP or your personal number. So it's the difference between authentication and authorization. Keep always that in mind. An account, okay, it's an identity, person, object, computer, artificial intelligence that you choose to give that identity. And that identity has a data associated with it. That it's an account. Everything that is happening is like your own profile, right? But it's not profile, it's account, all right? And having an Azure AD account is the same, an identity that it was created through the Azure Active Directory or another Microsoft Cloud service. So we can bring that directory. If that belongs to a cloud service from Microsoft, we can bring it. Okay. So the Azure Active Directory tenant, it's a dedicated, that is correct, Prisma Stau. That is correct, Prisma Stau, if that's a correction. They can use both ADs. The user, they only use one account, like one identity, and with that identity, they can connect to both accounts, because there are like the account in Azure Active Directory and the account in on premises. They can do that, yes. And also subscription. What is a subscription? It's what you used to pay for Azure Cloud Services, right? So every time I just subscribe to something, I will pay. I will just another example. We use satellite TV maybe, right? And we pay a regular fee. But I want to have the subscription for the pay-per-view for the box night, right? And then I pay for that subscription. I want to see the latest movie, like the Lion King, and I have to pay for the pay-per-view for the movie. I want to see the concert of the latest artist, so I pay a subscription for watching that concert. So every time we use something, we pay subscriptions for it, right? So we have to understand that. So before we go to the break, okay, before we go to the small break, I want to make a comparison between the Active Directory, the domain server, and the Azure Active Directory, okay? Azure AD is primarily an identity solution, and it's designed for HTTP and HTTPS protocols communications. That's the main primarily that why they do it, because they want you to do that over those protocols, okay? It's not that I have it inside my on-premises and I need to go outside on the internet and work with the internet, right? So I have to go to the cloud. So I need a directory that helps me to work with those protocols. So that's primarily the reason why we use Azure AD, because it's better working with those protocols, right? Also, we use the REST API. We can use the REST API, so we can create the APIs very easily on the portal over the HTTP and HTTPS instead of doing the old school ALDAP, right? Which is I was long distance access protocol, I think. Someone corrects me if it's for accessing. It's a protocol for accessing like a remote. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember that well. But I think it's a protocol. I remember it's a protocol for accessing like remote desktops, but it's not RDP. It was something else. It also used the HTTP and HTTP protocols such as SAM, the WS federations, the ones we saw for the authorization, instead of Kerberos. Kerberos, as I said, it's really trusty. It's really, really trusty, but it still has its things. It's kind of old. We have a better ways to do that, and there's blockchains and stuff. So Kerberos is still working, but it's not better like working on the protocols and having all the chances and opportunities to connect via all those authentications, like say MLE, WS Federation, OpenID, or zero authorization. So that's better because we have more options to do that. The Active Directory would include the Federation services and many third-party services, such as, well, you guessed it. Also, the Azure Active Directory, lightweight directory. Yes, Grim, the lightweight directory. Users or groups are created in a flat infrastructure, in a flat structure. Let me erase. Sometimes I get not really good aim on my writing. I created in a flat structure. So what it gives me this structure, that they are not organizational units. Like I don't have to create like a pyramid like stairs or organigram on it, like I have to do into my Windows Server Active Directory, right? Instead of creating those organizational units or creating those policy objects, I just create like a flat structure. And it's like if you're looking above all of them, you know, imagine that you create your directory and you can look up all of them from above, from the top, instead of seeing it like a pyramid. Let me show you maybe with this one. Instead of seeing like a pyramid here, you know, all the your maybe your persons and the users that you can have. Sorry for my. Imagine that my not almost perfect circles are like people or users, okay? And let's have the owner. I just can't go here, I think here, and it was Shift G, I think. Do that. It's awesome. This is the owner here, and some users here, maybe. Okay. So the good thing about it is that instead of seeing it this way, where's my? Instead of seeing it this way, we can just see it. Let me erase it. Let me erase this way. Like from above. Imagine that you're looking everything from above. Oh, sorry. Right? And we just see those small users. And we can see what they can do. And we can see what are the privileges. If like they have like a small tag box there with all the information, you know? So that's the beauty of the Active Directory. I'm sorry about it. Oh, what happened? I just sorry about it. So that's why we use that Active Directory instead of using the ones that we already have. Sorry about it. Okay, but I promise you have a 5-minute break. So yeah, you can go have that break. Let me just set up the time. And I see you to be exactly in 5 minutes. So see you back at 5 on your time. It will be 10:13. All right. Yes, Lucas, the groups can be nested, but I want you to visualize first the identities of the users, you know, and when we talk about the groups, we're talking about semantic spaces, you know. So like I draw you, like I draw here. Sorry, even if it's a break for the others to go for the coffee, I go for my refill as well. So others having that resource group, it's you have the big picture here, and you have some resource group here, and you have another resource group here, and then maybe you have another resource group that share some resources of the other groups, so you can see everything from above. That's what I was trying to say, but we don't have it yet there yet, so no worries. Joao, try to refresh your browser and try to close. If you're navigating or something, try to close. Maybe you're having like a bad bandwidth there. Anyway, see you back in 3. Okay, the time is over. So it's important to have those breaks, guys, it's important, girls as well, to stretch a little bit, like stretch your arms, bend your neck a little bit. Sometimes we could, because we spent a lot of time from the computers. I don't know about you, but I spent around 16 hours. If I'm not programming, or I'm not just studying, or I'm not developing something, of course I'm playing video games or something else. But we spend a lot of time in front of the computer, so it's important to do some exercise and relax, because we need that information flows in, and our ideas flows out into the keyboard. So it's important to just relax here, right? Okay, so when we select the Azure Active Directory, we have some additions to it. We have to select, how do I change the color? It's in blue. Okay, we select different editions, like, let me show you, like this. We can have the free one. We have apps from Microsoft 365. We got Premium P1, Premium P2. Let's call it like the free one, the basic one, and the more privileged one, right? So we can enjoy from different types of features, which is like the directory objects, single sign-ons, the core identity, and so on. Business-to-business collaboration, which is also important, the identity of an access for Office 365. We can check which edition of this it actually do we need according to what we pretend or we need in our solution. Maybe we need some premium features. Maybe we need some hybrid identities, right? Sorry, I'm looking. I don't remember where's the camera. Here's the camera. So maybe we need advanced groups access and so on. So it's important for us to know all about it, to know which are all the features we can use, like the conditional access as well. Oh, what happened with my camera? With the conditional access as well, or protection for the identity. Maybe we need to govern that identity. So according to the things that we need, we're going to select our edition. We're going to select the kind of license or subscriptions that we need. That's important to know. So this is also important to understand, to know what we can do with the editions. Why? Because if you're following that path to become an architect, or you're following that path to become an associate, then it's important to you to know which editions allows you to bring certain features to your solution, to the solution that you're presenting to your organization, to your company, or whatever you are developing for. That's why it's important to know the editions. And of course, the identities, all right? We have a couple of identities, like the Azure AD registered devices, that it supports that you can bring your own device, you can register your own device using the Microsoft account. This device could be attached to an Azure ID account, so it will grant you the access to the resources. Doesn't matter which operating system you're using, you can bring that device to Azure. You can just add it to the Active Directory, to the Azure Active Directory. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to do that mistakes, because I've been so much time into the cloud, so much time into Azure that we just call it Active Directory, It's like our own directory for us. One of the other things that we can also join devices. This is intent for the cloud first or cloud only organizations that own devices. Like if they want to send you a device from your company, and you can do that join devices already into your organization. You can use conditional access policies. The thing is, for do this, you need to do it with Windows 10 or plus devices. And also the hybrid Azure AD joint devices. With this one, you have Windows 32 apps deployed in these devices using the Active Directory machine authentication. So you want to continue to use Azure Policy to manage the device, you can also do that. If you want to use existing image solution to deploy device, you can do that. The good thing about it is that you can do it from or since using the Windows 7 or plus devices. Okay, that's the only condition for do it, but it depends once again on your solution. That's why they give you everything very in a granular way, like very organized. So when you implement the self-service password for those users, you will determine who can use it. Okay, who is able to do a reset of the password? All the users, only the global administrators, or so on. Or maybe you are a user and you don't want that the user do the self-reset. You want that the user reports to the IT support in your organization and ask them for a new password. I don't know, maybe because that's the way you choose it. You don't want anybody to reset the password really easily, and so on. Also, as well, because I said also, as well, you can choose the number of authentication methods required and the methods available. So you can be sent it by a code in your phone. You could be reset the password through an email. You must answer a couple of questions. So you can select the 3 of them if you like. Okay, let me just show you here for example here. How many methods are required? I want to use sorry, it's not here, it's here where I'm supposed to be. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to be here. How many methods you're required to use? I want to use 1, I want to use 2 methods, I want to use mobile app, email, mobile phone. So you can select what will be the method for the password to be reset. That's another huge value feature that you can find in Azure. Oh, it was a break time, but we already take it, so we are not that far from schedule. Now let's talk about the administration, the governance, and the compliance to make sure that everything we're supposed to do, it's going there. Well, just follow for Mahesh, just follow the learning path in Azure. There's no need to find for something else. Just the learning path, it's quite enough. One of the things that I really love from Azure and the learning path is, as I said it, they are more concerned about the people to understand what they're learning. So that's why they create the certification in a modular way, so you can easily, step by step, do the learning. So you don't need to understand deeply into the whole portal, into the whole Azure solution to start working with it, to start presenting your certifications and show that you are learning. So that is why. So I believe that you have already approached for a certification. So don't rush yourself into learning. It takes time. That's what we call the curve of learning. Azure has made that curve for everybody really short and really sharp. So that it's intent for you to make a better understanding. So there's no need to rush into the deeper things. It's just about little by little, step by step, we get to understand that. And talking about understanding about the governance and compliance, that leads me to the subscriptions and how to configure the subscriptions. Let me just put this one here. where is my mouse? I have so many screens that I can find my mouse sometimes. Configure the subscriptions, Also, we're going to be talking about the Azure policies. We can create policies as well into the subscriptions. The role-based access control, it's an identity, yes, because it is applied to a user or groups of users or an identity. But it's more than anything, it's you granting the access to someone with a special or a specified scope. So that it means that you will use that role-based access control. And of course, it's like thousands of engineers working in Azure, bringing us these tools to create that specific privilege or level of privileges or accesses granted to an specified user, that it will be a role, like in prison, like in jail, maybe, those people who carry all the keys, who are allowed to open certain doors and other they cannot open, is like that. It's like you set up a set of keys, like a special setup of keys, and you give them to that user, to that identity, according to the role that user is going to play inside of the organization, which is also another beautiful feature we have in Azure. We're going to be doing some labs. I'll show you those labs. Just a minute. But before we go to the labs, let's talk about this part, which is the configuration of the subscription and the resource manager. Okay. What is a resource manager? It actually says we're going to be managing our resources. All right. Before I get to there, Evan, yes, we have that 5-minute break. We have like 12 minutes ago, it's finished. But we're going to have another one. Actually, we're going to have a couple of breaks, and then we're going to have like a lunch break. You're going to have 30 minutes to stretch a little bit more, maybe grab a bite or whatever you need. So the resource manager basically is going to manage our resources. Okay, it's going to manage all the things that we have in Azure. Once again, why not go too deep into it? I believe sometimes Azure, it's like the English language, right? When you start learning, might you remember, you learn some rules, and those rules have some exceptions, right? And as much you learn, you find out that much you can play with those exceptions. And at the end, you find out yourself using the rules and exception as you like to express what you want to express in your own way, right? So I believe it's like that. Like, as much we understand what we can do and things as policies and the managers and the groups and stuff, we find out that we can do more things. Why I'm saying this? Because maybe they ask me, we can do different regions and create some resource groups where we can have interactions between two different resources, and maybe you decide that you want them to exist in the same group, right? I would say no, it's not possible. But wait, there are so many things we can do, right? Saying that it's not possible, it's not saying that it's impossible, right? The only thing impossible for me in Azure and in Microsoft is to break their security, right? But that's the beauty of the cloud. Remember when we were young and we were watching the clouds and imagining different forms and different cartoons or many things, it's the same thing. We can play with that cloud as we want. We can use all the tools, all the resources as we need. So every cloud is going to have a different shape, right? That's the beauty of it. So when we manage the resources, we want to find an easy way to administrate them, to see them, and we're going to be heading to that. And during this part about the subscriptions, we're going to be talking the regions that you already should be understanding the different about regions, how to implement the subscriptions, the kind of usage of the subscriptions. Remember, it's pay as you go, but there's also some payments, like standard fees according to the resource. So we have to understand that. How to obtain a subscriptions, many ways to obtain it, maybe from a reseller, maybe from direct from Microsoft, or we create resource groups. And well, this part about creating the resource group and determine the resource limit and create a hierarchy, we are not going to be talking about it. It's more like we're going to do it on the lab. The tagging is also important. We're going to do that some of the labs, as managing the costs. Okay, so I'm not going to see that on the slides. Also, another reason is because Microsoft has reduced their the learning. So before, like a couple of months ago, it was like more extensive, the information they give for the certification they were asking for. So in order to do that more reliable for everybody, they just wrap up the most important information that it should be asked on the exams. So talking about the identifying the regions, you know that a region, first of all, represents what? A collection of data centers. Let me find my mouse again. I think it's this one. Yes, it's this one. Where am I? Okay, here am I. Sometimes I cannot find it. We represent a collection of data centers. So that means that each blue dot here represents not one building, but a collection of data centers. Thanks to all these regions, will provide of flexibility and scale. That means that you can grow up as you need, and you have many options in case of fall, like an outage or a disaster recovery. It will preserve your data residency, so your data will be always being preserved somewhere in some of the data centers. So you have to select regions close to your users. Why? Why is this so much? It's really important to understand. When we do networking, when we do telecommunications, communication, I mean, like time, it's so important, even it's in microseconds. I don't know if you're fans of the Formula One. I am a huge fan. And like microseconds, it's everything. And it's the same in the networking. It's the same in the cloud. When you choose your closest region, you are reducing the latency between your users and your cloud. Okay, that it's faster communication, that it's also reliable communication, of course, but more than anything, it's faster. So imagine that you're working on, I don't know, like in Wall Street, in the broker. You are a broker and you're working in Wall Street. So imagine that you receive the news about a stock or about a stockholder couple of seconds before everybody else, and you decide to do your move, like to buy or to sell those stakes. So that will be a huge difference. Microseconds, you think it's not too much time, but it's a huge difference. So time, it's everything. And for me, reliability or connectivity and latency, it's the most important things about networking, right? We need to have good speed and in a reliable network. So we have to always be aware of the region that we are doing deployment. We have to check on the availability. I would just go really quickly to show you. Yeah, I will show you this one. I am doing something in the portal. I shouldn't be in the portal here. And I will show you, if you give me a couple of seconds, please. Azure regions available. Let's see if I can find it here. Just 1 second. Okay. I think it's here in the infrastructure. Let me show you. Sometimes my computer crashes when I just open the world map because it's. I will be with you in a couple of minutes on the. Yeah, it's loading. I will just show you. So it's always important to check the region, okay? Because I might choose the closest region for me, but it might not have the resiliency that I need, or it might not have, like some availability zones for me as well. So I need to check that all the time, right? So it's loading the infrastructure. One thing I love, again, from Microsoft, you might say that this guy is in love with Microsoft. Yes, I am. For sure, I can say that, and I'm proud. Is the infrastructure. Microsoft has been one of the pioneers into the cloud computing, into computing itself. So the infrastructure that Microsoft has created before it starts to be in the cloud, because Microsoft has its own data centers, before it goes cloud computing. It was something they dreamed many years ago, and now it's happening. So the infrastructure that created, the way that all the data centers are connected, it's through fiber optics. So and submarine cables, and they go just transatlantic cables. So the infrastructure is just huge, and they're coming many other regions, like here in Mexico, like in Brazil, which is coming. They just announced it, probably next year. That's the beauty of it. It's taking time to load. Let me just refresh it. Taking time to load. I will continue, and I show you in a minute what I was talking to you about. So remember that regions are paired for high availability. They don't necessarily have it like right now. That pair region, for example, Brazil. Okay, Brazil, it doesn't have like a pair region. Brazil has its own data center, and its pair region is located in central US. If it's not within 300 miles, it will just find like closest and better one to work with. So once we identify the region that we want to use, we will implement the subscription. Okay. Remember that only the identities in Azure AD or in the directory is the one that can create the subscription. That means the owner or the Azure in the Azure account is the one who can create the subscriptions. All right. Or I can create a subscription for a global administrator, and that global administrator can do everything I want or everything that is necessary. The logical unit of the Azure services, it's linked to an Azure account. So that means like all the services, okay, is going to be paid by the Azure account. Security and billing boundary. So that means that we got no boundaries about it. We can security for each subscription, okay? Each one will have its own security. So I just drawing really bad today. Okay, so each subscription will have its own security if we choose, and its own billing bill. Each one of those you will have separately, so we can have that beauty control of everything that's happening in our organization. As well, once we identify the region, once we implement the subscription, we will need to identify what kind of usage we're going to give them to that subscription. Okay, I was about to say so. If we want to create a subscription that is free, we have to remember that it will include $200 credit, and it's only for 30 days. Free limited access for 12 months. That means that you can access the portal for 12 months, but if you spend up that credit, or if you not, then it will be just there for 30 days. But also, that's not enough if you want to really play with Azure. Okay, if you really want to play with all the features that it has, you need more than $200, right? Because you want to create servers, you want to create virtual networks, you want to do peering, you want to do pings, you want to check out, you want to create some storage accounts, you want to check how to create blobs accounts, and maybe do a file sync with your own on-premises server. For that, for just the things that I mentioned, I just spent around $300, right? Because those are expensive, not in Azure, in real life, in your on-premises. Doing those kind of things are going to be really expensive. So we have to understand what kind of usage we're going to do to that subscription. Maybe a free account, it's quite enough. You know, maybe I just need a function that sends me an alert and works every time the alert is sent, and it's just a couple of cents. So, you know, we can use a free one. Or we can use pay as you go. It's monthly, and it will be as you use it, we'll pay him for. We got the CSP, which is a cloud solution provider. It is more like a contract that you will have with them. Not a contract, more like an agreement. You know, you can have some discounts. You can. This is more for small businesses that it's into growing into the cloud. You know, they offer this this agreement. Then we have the enterprise subscription. Of course, this is going to be more big with everything you're going to have. It's one agreement. We have discounts for new licenses and software assurance, and it's target to at enterprise scale, like huge scales, you know, like many departments, many users, many workers, and so on. And for last but not least, the student. The students can have also a subscription that it will include $100 for 12 months. But you need to must verify your student access. So your student ID must be valid still, and you can have them every time you need it. So the ways you obtain your subscription, remember that I said through a reseller, to the partners, to an enterprise agreement, or just start right away with a personal free account. This you can do to get your subscription, okay? When you do the agreement, you make an upfront payment and consume it like for 1 year, which if you are really moving to the cloud and you consider that that's the way you're going to be working, sometimes it's better to have an enterprise agreement and do the upfront payment, which it's going to be even cheaper than you paying as you go, okay? Because you already know your own infrastructure that you want to move to the cloud, or you want to have it hybrid in the cloud. So in those cases, it could be better to have a good cost analysis. Maybe if you are aware about the certification 900, they explain a little bit about the cost and the total cost of ownership calculator, and they explain you more about it right there. So before I just end up, let me see if this, no, it's still loading. Let's going to wait then I just go back to the presentation then. You can also get the subscription through the resellers, simple way, flexible way to purchase. The partners who design the Azure cloud solution, is going to give, a partner is the person who is going to offer that solution using Azure, which is what I consider you want to do. And then you can get the subscriptions, get the license for your clients, for your organizations. Or you can just, like I said, get your own free personal account. And well, that was pretty much. We're going to be talking about how to configure the subscriptions. But this slide is not one slide I wanted to show you. Now, also known as, I'm just going to raise it, also known as the RBAC or RBAC. I just call it RBAC. I like it more and I like it better. Also known as the role-based access control is the way we call it. We get to configure, okay, an specified role for some identity, for some user that I create or that I invite, and this role is going to be created. Let me just go here. The role is going to be created or based in the type of access that we want to give to that individual, to give to that user. So in other words, we are never, ever losing control of our organization. Okay? So that's why we use that role-based access control. And also, maybe if I just go to my portal, let me find my portal to here. Well, I don't have users here, so I cannot use it. No, I cannot use the users here. I cannot use it here. I can use it maybe with this one. Oh, what happened? With this one. Sorry, it's kind of slow. It's really slow. Okay, I have to close it. Never mind. We see that on the lab. There is a lab for that one exclusively. So never mind. Now, what is the difference? And we're going to be talking about the difference of a role-based access control and the Active Directory roles. What is the difference? Well, here I can set up a global administrator. I can set up maybe let's type global admin. I can set up user administrator as well. I can set up maybe a reader. I can set up some roles that I want to use into my organization. But the difference is when I have the role-based access control, maybe I want to create a specific role for, I don't know, you name it. Maybe I need a person that is specific for password creations, or maybe a person that is just going to be my network administrator. Or maybe I need not administrator, I just need a contributor. right? So I can create those roles based on the kind of access that I want to give it. Or maybe I can create virtual machine reader, person who is going to be able only to look up of the virtual machines. It won't be able to modify, it won't be able to delete, but it will be able to read. So I can create different scopes according to the access that I want to give them. And it's not only that I want to create that scope, but Azure also give me like a whole list of scopes according to the needs, the thousands of engineers think it's necessary to have just like at hand, you know, very handy. So we create into those, where's my mouse? I think it's here. We create that role-based access control by creating a role definition. Okay, that role definition will be security, I don't know, security network manager. I just give them a role definition, okay? And that role is going to be assigned and it's going to be authenticated some way, right? But let's see it further. Take this one out and we go to the next one. Role-based access control versus, it's not a fight, but it's like a versus the ones that we have in the Active Directory. The role-based access control will allow me to manage access to the resources, okay? In the Active Directory, I will manage access to the AD objects, right? The role-based access control, its scope can be specified at multiple levels. In the Active Directory, the scope is a tenant level. That means like the higher level, you know, global administrator, owner, administrator, and so on. In the role-based access control, the role information can be accessed in the Azure Portal through the command line interface or simple through the PowerShell. Even the manager templates or the APIs. In the Azure Active Directory roles, the role information can be accessed in the portal, Microsoft 365, admin portal, Microsoft Graph, Azure Active Directory, PowerShell, and so on. So basically with the role-based access control, the way you control access to resources using this protocol, using this feature, is to assign Azure roles. This is a key concept to understand, okay? So it's according to the role I want to give them, to what I need that person do in the organization, okay? It's how permissions are enforced. A role assignment consists of 3 elements, okay, that are really, really important, which is the role definition, okay, the security, and the scope. That's the most important thing. So who is going to be, what it's going to do, and where it's going to head. That's the 3 important things to understand about it. So we create the role definition, and for example, this definition is contributor, and what the contributor can do, okay? They have authorization to do delete, to write, to elevate access traction, okay? Or we have custom. We can create according to the way we need it, okay? So we create a role, which is this one. And then we create a role assignment. The definition is not only the name. The definition is also knowing or defining what that role will be available to do, will be privileged to do. And then we create the role assignment, okay? The role assignment is the process of attaching a role definition to a user. So I create the role definition, and now we're to say which user is going to have that role. We can assign it to a group, we can assign it to a principal service, to a managed identity, a particular scope, you know, to any purpose. So we're granting that access. Access is granted by creating a role assignment, and access is revoked by removing the role assignment. So I create the role assignment and I choose to assign it, let's call this little guy here to Fofo. So Fofo can have this role, and Fofo can make these actions possible. All right. Fofo also, it's targeting the scope, so he can manage these levels. So once that I decide to take Fofo out of the picture, automatically all these assignments, all these access granted are revoked. They're not there. Now, by applying the authentication, of course, we need to authenticate. We need to show authorization to the role-based access control. It's not different from the Azure Active Directory. Why not? Because once we access the root, okay, we can access through the directory or as a global administrator. But in the root, we still have that role-based access control. It's not like a directory, but I would call it like a directory, like an extra directory, but it's going to be it's going to be also inside that directory, because we are creating those roles, you know. So inside of the directory, we create the role of an owner, of a tenant, or a global administrator, so, and we can create roles, and we create the role of a IT technician, IT directory, CIO, maybe the chief information technology. You call it, right? And the same way that's going to be managing, for example, the root management group, and which management group that person has access according to what we set up in the Azure account or the directory. So that person will have that authentication, okay? So the roles that I was telling you about, what's the time? Owner, contributor, reader, and user access administrator. These are like the most basic ones. You know, we can create new ones. The owner, of course, he can do and undo things at his will, right? The contributor, well, he doesn't have the same privileges as the owner, but he also have, like, is the next person in line to have those privileges. So you can tell. The reader, of course, it's available to view everything. The user access administrator manages the user access to the Azure resources. He cannot create resources as well, but he manages the users and the way they access, okay? So that's important to understand about the role-based access control and some of the roles that we have in Azure. When we implement a role-based access control, we provide fine-grained access management of resources in Azure. It's like I said, only the privileges needed. It's like if we only give the keys that that person is going to need. If I go to, like, to simplest example, if you guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, owns a car, and have you ever take your car to the valet parking? Sometimes those cars have two set of keys. One of the keys is for the car itself, and you can open or lock the glove compartment, and you can open or close the trunk, and so on. But the other key is for the valet. So you give that key to the valet, and the valet is only able to start the car and move it around, to park the car and bring it back to you. But he won't be able to open the glove compartment. He won't be able to open the trunk. He won't be able to do certain stuff, like even in the fancy cars, like moving your seat or changing your mirrors or activate the radio. So we create that role-based access control like that key, okay? Because that's the privilege of the valet parking, right? But maybe I want to have another key that I want that the person will be able to, well, to move the seat, change the mirror, use the stereo, but still not using the glove compartment and not using the trunk. So I create another role. The first role is called valet parking. The second role is called my son, my daughter, maybe because you lend them your car, right? But you don't want them to have access. Or maybe you want another like family that you want to have access to the glove compartment, to the car documents, but maybe not to the trunk because you're hiding the Christmas presents, right? So that's one of the beauty things of creating the role-based access control, right? So now it's time to do a quick demo. And for that, I would just go to open a lab. If you allow me to do that, I will do that in this lab because mine, it's oh no, actually I just so I hope you're doing okay. Exactly. Or like the security guy accessing the building, or like the postman, you know, like when they deliver the mail, some of the postmen have access to the back of the mailboxes, and you only have the key for your one, but they have the keys for everything. And yeah, you create that role. One role is the visitor, the other role could be the tenant, the owner of the building. That is why. And now, as you can see here, I'm about to do this lab, and you're also going to do this lab. So you're not saving yourself for doing your labs. And this, I'm going to make a quick parenthesis. It's super important, people, for you to do the hands-on the labs. And I'm going to tell you why. If you get the different free accounts or the student account, you only have like certain amount of money, and you will see that you don't have all the resources open. And here, by doing these labs and having this course, you have all the resources open at free will. You had unlimited credit for what I understood and I know, to play as much as you want and use and get to know much as you want from Azure. That's why it's so important to you do the labs. If you do the labs and you want to do it again, do it again. If you finished and you finished before and you want to still navigate it and you have some time, do it again. Remember, the labs can be open up to 10 times each one. And the challenge labs, I don't think you have challenge labs. They're going to be open only 3 times. They have like a time limit, but that's quite enough. So don't you worry about it. Okay, so I'm just going to be connected. I don't know which license do I get here. 2916. This is the license, yes. And I'm going to my Active Directory. I go to my Active Directory. Sorry, it's a little bit slow here. My Azure Active Directory. And what I'm going to do there, I'm going to manage my tenants. Open here. And I'm going to hit, for example, this one. I cannot see it like really well here because it's a little bit slow. Close this one. Oh, what I did? Where is where is mate? I just lost it, mate. No. Oh, I'm outside. That's why. That is why. So from here, we're going to create a new Active Directory, role-based access control. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit configuration. And you know, it's important, guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, remember what a drive does. You know what's a drive? A hard drive, a disk, maybe a diskette if you know when. So what it does, it actually sorry, just trying to, it writes and it reads. So it's important always to write the correct names and reads the correct names with this. Okay, so now I got for you guys some work to do, which is on the labs. Okay, because I don't want to take out more of your time. You still have some time with you, and you have like a 30-minute break, and from that break we're going to be returning to doing some labs. So let's go to take that break. I'm sorry, I just took 5 minutes from your time, and we continue when we are back. Sorry, it's a 20-minute break. Oh, sorry, guys, that's everything for today. That is right. We have only 2-hour session, so I'm sorry. See you back in the Q&A session for the people who is attending the Q&A session. I'm sorry for the 6 minutes. I just get over the time. And see you back tomorrow at the same time in the same link. All right. Have a beautiful rest of the day, and see you back in the Q&A session. Have a beautiful one.